You don't struggle because life is complicated. You struggle because you were never taught how to use the things you touch every single day. Think about that for a second. The messes, the frustration, the wasted time, the small annoyances you've accepted as normal. What if none of them were necessary? What if the problem was never you, but the way you've been using everyday objects your entire life? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Some of the most common items around you were designed with hidden functions, quiet logic, and smarter systems that almost no one ever shows you. Not because they're secret, but because nobody slows down enough to notice. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. In this video, you're about to discover how ordinary things you use every day have been working against you. Not because they're flawed, but because you were never shown how they actually work. And the deeper you go, the more you'll realize this isn't just about objects. It's about awareness. Stay until the end, because the last insight will change how you interact with technology and maybe how you approach problems in general. Chinese takeout boxes as plates. He begins by pointing to something so familiar that it almost disappears into routine. The Chinese takeout box feels like it has only one purpose: hold food until it's empty. People eat straight from it, hunched over, balancing chopsticks, accepting discomfort as normal. What looks like convenience slowly turns into inefficiency, but no one questions it. This is how habits form, quietly, without resistance. Small inconveniences become invisible because they repeat. And over time, people forget that objects are designed with intention, not guesswork. When he shows that the box unfolds into a flat plate, the reaction is immediate and almost embarrassing. The struggle was never necessary. The design always allowed full access to the food, better posture, and a cleaner experience. Nothing new was added, nothing extra was required. The only change was understanding how the object was meant to be used. This moment teaches something subtle but powerful. Many daily frustrations exist, not because life is hard, but because tools are misunderstood. Awareness replaces effort. He uses this as a quiet lesson about how people move through life on autopilot. When discomfort becomes familiar, it stops being questioned. The takeout box becomes a symbol of overlooked simplicity. Once someone notices this, curiosity naturally grows. If something so common was being used wrong for years, what else might be hiding in plain sight? This realization opens a mental door, and just as the box reveals its true purpose when unfolded, the next example reveals what happens when the wrong tool is used for the wrong job. Toilet plungers, cup versus flange. He shifts the attention to a situation most people only notice when frustration is already high. In the bathroom, the plunger sits quietly in the corner, assumed to be universal. When a problem happens, people grab it, push harder, and hope for the best. Resistance increases, tension builds, and impatience takes over. The struggle feels normal, almost expected. Rarely does anyone stop to ask whether the tool itself is part of the problem. Habit convinces people that effort will fix what understanding could solve faster. When the difference between a cup plunger and a flange plunger is revealed, clarity replaces stress. The flange exists to create a proper seal inside the toilet drain, something the flat cup was never designed to do. Suddenly, what felt like a stubborn problem becomes simple and controlled. Less force is needed, less time is wasted, and panic disappears. The experience changes not because the situation changed, but because the correct tool matched the task. Precision quietly replaces struggle. He uses this moment to highlight a broader pattern in daily life. Many problems persist because people attack them with the wrong approach, not because they are difficult. When tools and situations are mismatched, effort increases and results decrease. Once someone understands this, frustration starts to feel optional rather than inevitable. The bathroom example may seem trivial, but the lesson travels far beyond it. And as this awareness settles in, it naturally leads to another overlooked design hiding in the kitchen, waiting to be used correctly. Spaghetti, spoon hole as a portion measure. He moves into the kitchen and points to a tool almost everyone has used without a second thought. The spaghetti spoon feels simple, even primitive, and the hole in the middle is usually dismissed as decoration. People rely on instinct, pour pasta into boiling water, and accept excess as normal. Plates come out overloaded, leftovers pile up, and the body feels heavy afterward. Yet no one connects the outcome to the tool itself. Guessing becomes tradition, and tradition replaces intention. When he explains that the whole is actually a portion guide, the realization lands instantly. One serving fits perfectly through it. No math, no scale, no discipline required. What seemed insignificant suddenly reveals quiet intelligence. The spoon was offering guidance the entire time, but it only works when someone pauses long enough to listen. Meals become lighter, waste decreases, and cooking feels calmer. Control appears not through restriction, but through understanding design. He frames this as a lesson about excess creeping in through ignorance, not desire. Overdoing things rarely starts as a conscious choice. It begins with small miscalculations repeated daily. When tools are misunderstood, balance is lost without being noticed. The spaghetti spoon teaches that moderation doesn't need willpower, it needs clarity. And once someone experiences how one small correction changes the result, curiosity grows again. If a tiny hole can quietly guide better decisions, what other everyday objects might be doing the same, right under the surface? Expandable ketchup cups. He turns to a fast food detail that people interact with almost automatically. Those tiny paper ketchup cups look limited by design, so the instinct is to grab more without thinking. Hands fill up, trays get cluttered, and mess becomes part of the experience. No one questions it because it feels trivial. Yet this is how inefficiency hides, inside things people assume are meant to be inconvenient. Habit teaches acceptance faster than curiosity. When he shows that the cup unfolds and expands, disbelief turns into relief. The folds open, the surface grows, and the problem disappears instantly. Nothing new was added. The design was always there. What changed was attention. The cup stops being a limitation and becomes a solution. A single motion replaces excess, and frustration evaporates. It's a quiet reminder that many problems don't require more resources, just better use of what's already available. He uses this moment to point out a common life pattern. When something feels insufficient, people tend to add instead of adjust. More cups, more effort, more waste. Rarely do they pause to ask if expansion is already built in. Once this shift is understood, behavior naturally changes. Less grabbing, less clutter, more efficiency, and as awareness sharpens, it becomes easier to notice how positioning, not quantity, is often the real issue. The next example makes this especially clear the moment heat enters the equation: proper microwave food placement. He shifts attention to a habit so common that almost no one questions it. Most people place their food directly in the center of the microwave, assuming that's where heat works best. The plate spins, the timer beeps, and disappointment follows. One bite burns the tongue while the next is ice cold. This uneven result is accepted as normal, as if microwaves are just unreliable by nature. Few stop to consider that placement, not power, is the real issue. When he explains how microwaves create hot and cold zones, the logic becomes clear. The center is the least active path, while the edges move food through more energy. Placing the dish near the rim allows it to pass through those zones, heating evenly without extra time. Suddenly, leftovers taste better, and reheating feels predictable. No special settings, no added steps, just understanding movement. The microwave wasn't failing. It was being used passively. He frames this as a lesson about positioning rather than force. Many people increase time or power when results are poor, instead of adjusting placement. This habit shows up everywhere, working harder instead of smarter, pushing instead of aligning. Once someone sees how a small shift changes the outcome, frustration fades quickly. Awareness replaces trial and error, and with that awareness, the mind becomes more open to noticing other subtle design choices, like the ones quietly waiting at the top of a pair of running shoes. Extra shoelace holes, heel lock. He points to a detail most people have seen but never questioned. The extra holes at the top of running shoes are usually ignored or treated as backups. Runners tighten their laces, feel their heels slip, and assume discomfort is part of the experience. Blisters, friction, and instability become expected side effects. Few realize the shoe itself is offering a solution, quietly built into its design. The problem persists not because it's unsolvable, but because the feature is misunderstood. When he explains the heel lock technique, everything clicks. Threading the laces through the extra holes creates a loop that secures the heel without crushing the foot. Movement becomes stable, pressure evens out, and running feels lighter. The shoe finally works with the body instead of against it. This small adjustment transforms the experience, proving that comfort often comes from precision, not tightness. The design was always there, waiting to be activated. He uses this as a broader reflection on overlooked support systems. Many people overcompensate when something feels unstable, pulling harder instead of anchoring smarter. This habit shows up in work, health, and daily routines. Once someone experiences how alignment replaces force, trust in design grows. Discomfort stops feeling inevitable. And as this awareness settles, it naturally leads to another everyday frustration, one that usually ends with a messy counter and an annoyed sigh. Correct way to pour from a carton. He brings attention to a moment so ordinary that most people react to it with mild annoyance rather than curiosity. Pouring juice or milk from a carton often ends with splashing, glugging, and a sticky counter. People slow down, tilt carefully, and still accept the mess as unavoidable. It feels like a minor flaw in everyday life, not something worth fixing. Over time, the cleanup becomes routine, and the cause is never questioned. Convenience masks inefficiency once again. When he explains that the carton is being held upside down, the frustration suddenly makes sense. Pouring with the spout at the top allows air to flow in while liquid flows out, creating a smooth, controlled stream. The glugging disappears, the pour becomes clean, and the glass fills effortlessly. Nothing about the carton changed, only its orientation. This small shift removes chaos from a familiar task. It's a reminder that many problems aren't about speed or care, but about flow. He uses this as another lesson in understanding systems instead of fighting them. When air and liquid compete for the same space, resistance appears. When each has its own path, everything moves smoothly. This principle applies far beyond the kitchen. People often force outcomes without noticing that structure matters more than strength. Once someone experiences how alignment improves results, they begin to question other daily habits that feel unnecessarily messy, and that curiosity naturally carries forward, straight into another household staple people consistently overuse without realizing it. Detergent cap measurement lines. He shifts to the laundry room, where more is often mistaken for better. People fill the detergent cap to the top, convinced that extra soap means extra clean. Clothes come out stiff, colors dull, and a strange residue lingers, yet no one connects the dots. The habit feels harmless, even responsible. After all, cleanliness is the goal. What's overlooked is that excess quietly creates new problems while pretending to solve the old ones. When he points out the measurement lines inside the cap, the logic becomes clear. Those lines aren't decorative. They're precise guides designed for efficiency. Using less detergent allows water to rinse properly, leaving fabric cleaner and softer. The machine runs smoother and clothes last longer. What felt like generosity toward cleanliness was actually working against it. Control returns the moment quantity aligns with purpose. He frames this as a lesson about restraint through understanding, not sacrifice. Overuse often comes from insecurity, not necessity. People add more when they doubt the process. Once trust in the system is restored, excess fades naturally. This awareness changes how people approach other routines that feel wasteful or heavy, and as habits become lighter, attention sharpens. That sharpened attention is exactly what's needed for the next overlooked feature, hiding quietly at the bottom of the refrigerator. Crisper drawer, humidity control. He turns to the refrigerator, a place people open daily without ever really studying it. The crisper drawers at the bottom are treated like generic storage, a convenient place to throw all fruits and vegetables together. Greens wilt too fast, fruits spoil early, and food gets tossed out with a shrug. This waste feels unavoidable, almost natural. Few people realize the drawers are not passive containers, but tools designed to slow decay. When he explains the humidity controls, the system suddenly makes sense. One drawer is meant to trap moisture for leafy greens, while the other releases it for fruits and thicker-skinned produce. Separating them preserves freshness, texture, and flavor. What once spoiled in days now lasts far longer with no extra effort. The refrigerator stops working against the food and starts working with it. Once again, the solution was built in, quietly waiting for attention. He uses this example to highlight how neglecting small systems creates constant loss. Mixing everything together feels efficient, but it accelerates breakdown. Understanding separation and environment changes the outcome completely. This principle shows up everywhere, from food to focus to energy management. When someone learns to respect conditions, results improve without struggle. And with that insight in mind, attention naturally shifts to the most used object of all, one that people touch hundreds of times a day without realizing how much control it actually offers. Smartphone cursor control with spacebar. He finishes by pointing to something people use constantly but rarely master: typing on a smartphone. When a mistake appears in the middle of a long message, most people tap the screen repeatedly, watching the cursor jump to the wrong place again and again. Frustration builds, words get deleted, and the message turns into a mess. This awkward finger dance feels unavoidable, as if precision simply isn't possible on a small screen. Over time, people accept clumsiness as part of digital life. When he reveals that holding the spacebar turns the keyboard into a trackpad, the experience changes instantly. The cursor glides smoothly, landing exactly where it's needed. Editing becomes calm, controlled, almost effortless. What once felt like a limitation of technology turns out to be a hidden feature. The phone was always capable of precision. The user just didn't know how to access it. Once learned, it feels impossible to go back. He uses this final example to underline a core idea running through everything before it. Mastery doesn't come from upgrading tools, but from understanding them. Small features, when discovered, quietly return a sense of control. The smartphone becomes a symbol of how much power people already hold without realizing it. And once this awareness clicks, it naturally invites reflection. If so many everyday objects were being used wrong for years, how many other habits might be quietly working against you without your notice? If this video did something subtle to you, that wasn't an accident. It wasn't about boxes, spoons, or phones. It was about awareness. Every small realization you had today came from the same place, slowing down just enough to notice what was already there. Nothing new was added to your life. No upgrades, no hacks, just understanding. And that's the part most people miss. The biggest improvements rarely come from more effort. They come from clearer perception. Look around after this video ends, at the objects you touch, the habits you repeat, the frustrations you tolerate. Ask yourself how many of them exist simply because you've been doing things the way everyone else does, without questioning why. The moment you start asking better questions, life starts answering differently. If you enjoyed this way of seeing the world, quietly sharper, calmer, more intentional, this channel is for you. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because every video here is designed to give you back control you didn't even know you were missing. And next time something feels harder than it should, pause. There's a good chance the solution is already in your hands.